My first Ferrari was a 1984 red 308 GTS. It was just pure luck. I worked for startups like my dad, so I was on my fourth or fifth startup. So they went public, and there was just barely enough money to buy a Ferrari at the time. The average Ferrari owner probably puts anywhere between $2,500, maybe $3,000 a year on their Ferraris. I use them as daily drivers. I couldn't see not owning one and not driving it. My favorite description of that was kind of funny. A friend of mine, we were talking about Ferraris not being driven, and there was an older woman in the crowd, and her analogy was like, well, that'd be like being married to Robert Redford, never taking him to the bedroom. There's a lot of good Ferraris out there in the world. 355 is not one of them. It's a wonderful car. It's beautiful. I love it. When it's driving, it's a wonderful car to drive, but it is the maintenance nightmare of all Ferraris out there. It's a cam belt-driven drive, which means the belts have to be changed. They're rubber. Unfortunately, it's an engine-out service to do that. It's a very expensive service, very expensive car to maintain. It has a couple of very bad systemic problems. The headers burn through routinely. Right now, the car behind me has got its headers burned through, and it's got to go back for another set of headers. So that's going to be a small 4-figure bill, actually close to 5-figure. Then the exhaust guides are weak, those burn through. Then you have to do a head job on the car. So it's got some problems, and that's for the early cars. And then if you were crazy enough to buy the Formula One car, the paddle shifter cars, those pumps leak, and those are $15,000 a piece when you have to replace those. And then if you were crazy enough to buy the Spiders, the hydraulic tops leak and they fail. So get yourself an F1 Spider 355 and you're in for a world of hurt from a maintenance point of view. So this car was on a charity drive with the Fog Group, which we do every year. And we live in Marin County, and we're heading to Santa Barbara. So we're heading up Highway 17, and you eventually, it's a nice windy road through the mountains, and you get to the crest, which is Summit Road. It's a 50-mile-an-hour, 2-lane freeway with a big concrete center divide. And on the other side of the blind crest, the cars were stopped, dead stopped. Came over the crest. My friend Michael Bell in a 360 Modena was in front of me. I was braking as hard as I could. He was braking as hard as he could. And I think I was going to come to a stop until the two Porsches hit me from behind. This car got crushed from both ends. The entire front of the car got crushed. The back of the car got crushed. The engine was ripped from the engine mounts, slammed into the firewall. The cab was not busted, but the car was kind of bent so that all the seams and both fronts and rears of the doors were not working well. I owned this car since new. It has that sentimental value for me. The new cars at the time were probably $250,000 before you pay taxes on that money. Figured the insurance company would give me something a little more than 40 to fix it and keep the car. And I would hope to come up with maybe 50 to fix it. It's quite a bit more than that, but I figure it's hard to throw away cars you know and love. It's kind of like delinquent children, you know, you don't give up on them. You know, if they're going through rehab for the 4th time, you kind of hang in there with them. My goal was to bring all 3 cars to the Ferrari National Meet and try to bring home 3 Platinum Awards with 300,000-mile plus cars, one over 200,000. We're pressing pretty hard in August to try to get everything done. So this car was just barely getting done in time. It was 2 weeks before August, was before it had to actually be on the concourse field to be judged. And the other 2 cars still had work, small bits and pieces of work to be done, little bits of paint work and lots of other things. The car came back here with 2 weeks to spare. It had a few more little things I hadn't gotten around to doing because I forgot about them, but we managed to get the last piece on the car the Friday night before Monterey. Then it went down Saturday morning for Monterey and was shown on Monday. And all 3 did very well and came away with their Platinum Awards, which was, I think, a coup that no one's ever going to reproduce, especially from a totaled car.